Hey, true believers, welcome back to episode 2 of the Fantastic Four Fancast. I'm your host, Nate Charles, and I have a co-host. His name is Shane Murray. How you doing tonight, Shane?
Good, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Spent the day editing and trying to get some stuff around for this episode. We are excited today because we will be doing a deep dive analysis on Fantastic Four #1 from August of 1961. And we do have our first guest to occupy our floating chair. I'd like to introduce you to Darren Auck. Darren, how are you tonight?
Hey guys, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, Nate. Good to see you, Shane.
Darren is a 1983 graduate of the Kubert School and former Kubert School instructor. He's also worked for Marvel Comics, serving as a bullpen letterer, logo artist, and art director. Darren, take us through your involvement in getting into comics and, more importantly, how you became a fan of the Fantastic Four.
Okay. I became aware of comic books probably when I was 5 years old. Um, I'm sure it was about that time. Not that I necessarily remembered those early, trips to the grocery store or the drugstore. I'm so old. I remember getting my first comic books at the barber shop. I'm one of those guys. They used to dump them on the table in the waiting room at the barber shop so that kids would have something to keep them quiet. And man, I was hit big by horror movies and comics right from the get go. I was always drawing from the comics, and probably my first exposure was for the FF was probably them showing up in Avengers issues. That was my main title. When I was a kid, we didn't they didn't necessarily go, here you go, son, here's endless cash to buy comic books. So I would tend to go for the team books. I love DC and Marvel, but like I said, Avengers was the thing for me. The FF didn't grab me when I was younger. It's kind of weird because they didn't wear masks. And I wasn't too crazy about them when I was younger, them being in like a uniform. I didn't think that was exciting enough for superheroes. But once I was introduced to them in other titles, and then when John Buscema, who was my all time favorite um, comic book illustrator, he was more than that, but you know what I mean. And when I went back and started reading the FF later on, then it was a good time for me as a fan growing up in the 70s because then they reprinted most of the original stuff, the really good Stan Lee, Jack Kirby FF titles. That was in World's Greatest Comics, the one reprint volume. And so that turned me more into an FF fan. And of course, it really helped with just like the history of it. And I was really big on the continuity, knowing the characters. I still make the lame joke that I could probably tell you who all's related to Dr. Kurt Connors, but I can't name my first cousins. That's how my brain works. As far as comics, like you mentioned, I went to the Kubert School, um, fantastic program. And also, like you said, I worked there as an instructor. And some of my first published work was in like my third year, the final year. I was doing stuff for Joe Kubert and Sal Amendola. Um, did like some Elvira's House of Mystery and some Sergeant Rock pinup, backup features and things like that. Going back to high school, even though comics weren't considered cool at all, like in the 70s, at least in my high school, it wasn't. I published my own comic self-published a couple comics, and my mom helped me like paint advertising for the bulletin board and everything. So I was always serious about doing it for fun and for a business. And then in 1990, ups and downs. It's a good. I was happy that at Cubert they taught us to do all kinds of different freelance work, and that's how you survived when there's ups in the comic book field. But then in 1990, again, try not to tick off everybody you work with or go to school with, and here's why. A friend of mine, Brad Joyce, who graduated the same time I did at Cubert, he was living in Jersey City, and he was working as a bullpen letterer production. And he had gotten enough assignments. He was going to go freelance. So he asked me if I wanted to apply. And of course, I would have gone in as a janitor if that was my in. I was really fired up about restarting my career pretty much in '90. So I worked in the Marvel Bullpen for Virginia Ramita, John Sr.'s wife. She was head of production. And I worked in-house there in the bullpen for like 3 years. Yeah, there was a lot of negative stuff going on with like through the 90s, especially toward the end of the 90s, we had bankruptcy and battling maniacs for who actually owned Marvel and blah, blah, blah. But I tell you what, we were there at a fantastic time. I got to meet so many people who were part of the original comics and crew. And so that was like, took me into like 93. I was doing some freelance, mostly humor stuff. We were still doing What the, God, I hate the title of that comic. Try to explain that one to a civilian, it becomes like a bad comedy routine. Who's on first? But I did some humor stuff for What the, and for the Bullpen Bulletins page. And so with that, Mike Lackey, he became editor for when we started doing Ren and Stimpy and Rocco's Modern Life about the same time. So I ended up leaving the bullpen. I took a little over 2 years freelancing. Marvel wasn't my only client, but it was primarily who I was working for. And I got to draw like Ren and Stimpy, Rocco, and all that stuff. And then mid-90s, I ended up going back into the offices to work for John Romita Sr. as his assistant art director. And I'd filled in for my friend Steve Geiger, who had that position. And again, he goes freelance. I'm already connected with everybody in the company. I guess I didn't make Virginia too crazy because her husband hired me on, and that was good. And that was, I worked there. It's kind of an interesting position because you're there. A big part of my job was talent scouting. I had working with Ramita's Raiders on corrections. Keep in mind that right up until like 97, 98, we weren't really doing too much digitally. So if pages came in, FedEx, shipping the originals still, if they came in and like maybe somebody's costume wasn't up to date or, usually it wasn't anything too crazy, which was good because we were really under fire as far as fixing these monthly titles. But we would usually patch over the original and redraw whatever needed to be fixed. That was probably our most important gig. I also got to travel, do the convention circuit, looking for artists, just doing presentations, talking about the field, talking about Marvel Comics. And I rode that bad boy up until 2000, and I've been freelancing ever since.
I believe you did lettering on Fantastic Four Annual 24. I believe you also did you do the cover for Hulk versus Thing? Was that
Yeah, as a matter of fact, hey, here's the original for that one. That was a reprint special. I believe that was in 97, 98. And this was inked by Rodney Ramos, excellent artist. And this was one of them that I believe Marie Javins, who's now editor in chief at DC, she was editing a lot of the reprint books at that point in time. I hope I'm remembering this correctly. And I saw on the listings or heard in a meeting that we were doing the reprinting the Hulk thing battles from like FF 101, I think. John Buscema, inked by Joe Sinnott. And when I heard they, hadn't filled the slot for the cover artist yet, I pretty much went into the office and said, "I'm doing this." I threatened violence and stuff. It was crazy. But and then Marie laughed at me and let me take a shot at it. So that one, I still have the original, so I still like this one. And I'm really proud of how it turned out.
and then you were also telling me at one point that you did a cover layout for Salvador LaRocca when he was working on
Yeah,
it.
I probably the most fun part of the gig as far as being an art director is doing cover sketches or character sketches for projects. And here's the printed cover. I did a bunch of sketches for Salvador LaRocca. He was relatively new, but obviously doing fantastic work. And if I remember correctly, it might have been more of a language barrier, but either way, I think the best way to communicate what the editor would come to me, and if I remember right, the editor would come to me first and explain what they wanted to feature on the cover. This particular story has within the action. Sue and Namor are on some kind of adventure together, and Namor gets harpooned in the back. Now, that was way too gruesome to show on the cover. But Marvel was a little more conservative with violence in the old naughty bits than even the code was at the time before we quit using the code. So for me to communicate what I thought would work to Salvador would be like either I remember having time to do two sketches. One was like the moment right before, like the spear is coming at him and he's turning around and Sue's looking over her shoulder like, oh no, this guy I've always been weirdly infatuated with is about to get harpooned. And but then I did another sketch where he's injured, but you didn't quite see the wound. And that's what Salvador and the editor agreed upon. So that's how that one came about. I'll have to hook you up with the scan of the sketch itself. And even one of the coolest gigs I had at Marvel, before I got involved with the art department, was Marvel Age, the hype comic book for Marvel. I ended up securing a really cool gig where I was doing like the calendar illustrations, pretty much each issue. A fantastic opportunity given to me by Steve Saffel. Here's one that was kind of like a tribute to FF #1, inked by Al Milgrom, super pro, and Al's a great guy. I finally got to meet him last year. So yeah, this was a cool gig that, at least I had this. once a month when I was actually I was in the bullpen when I was doing these too. So that was cool. Not quite FF related, but my favorite one of these was inked by George Perez. It had the Avengers and the X-Men in it. And yeah, I won't be selling that one. Mm-hmm.
So before we get into today's issue with Fantastic Four #1, uh, real quick, what draws you to the Fantastic Four? What do they mean to you, Darren?
I would say I really love Ben. Um, maybe it's because I grew up in like a army construction family. My uncles, my father's friends, my friends. Um, I could relate to like to me, even though Ben Grimm had gone with his career and actually became like a pilot. I don't know how the continuity works anymore. I mean, I know he was a fighter pilot in the old continuities, and obviously he was no dummy. But I just liked he was just one of them gruff, angry, just really down to earth guys. Maybe I just had a soft spot for the grumpy guy, and he also had like a real boxer wrestler mentality that I thought was cool. I just thought he was like a really cool regular guy, like Cap. He would never back down, even though the odds just, I just remember when I got into reading some of Marvel's greatest comics, and you got Thing and some giant Kirby monstrosity robot alien thing shows up, and Ben's like cracking wise, like, come here, I'll show you something, Buttercup. It's like just that stuff just killed me. And I always liked Sue. I mean, even as a kid, I read some of what they did with her, and I'm like, oh, give her some slack, man. Like, she could be the most powerful member of the team. Um, I like Johnny okay. Of course, the dynamic, the busting chops with Ben and Johnny was always great. Um, Reed is Reed. I mean, would I want to hang out with him in real life? I don't know. We probably wouldn't have anything to talk about. But and for me, and this might have concerned my mom a little bit because reading the FF, I became a fan of Doctor Doom. I just thought he was cool, man. He was like a tech guy, a warrior, uh, a warlock. It was, and he had that kind of, classic universal monster, tragic, crazy villain guy. And of course, they're rogues gallery villains, whatever you want to call them. It doesn't get any better than what the FF had. And I just, that was the world's greatest comic, and if you're going to label your comic that, you better deliver it. And I feel like they always did, like Rich Buckler, Walt Simonson down the road, um, Ron Friends, just really good work. Great stuff. I'm looking forward to the movie like crazy. I'm so happy they're doing kind of a almost like 60s retro vibe to it. Um, I'm looking forward to it.
As am I. You're looking forward to First Steps, right?
Oh,
Oh,
dude, so
yeah.
much. Remember, I yelled at you because you were yelling at me about going to a movie without you, and you're leaving me to go to
Yeah,
a
I'll be
different
watching that
state.
movie in California. I didn't realize that at the time, but
Grounds to break up.
yeah,
You
the
didn't wait on the FF
second and
movie.
last episode of the Fantastic Four fan cast. So moving along with today's topic, which is Fantastic Four number one, just to set the stage for the issue, uh, we're looking at spring of 1961, where Marvel is technically not even Marvel yet. It's just Stan Lee and a couple artists tucked away in the offices of Magazine Management Company. Uh, Stan's worked for the company for about 20 years at this point. The books are in decline, and basically all he's doing right now is chasing trends with monster, romance, and Western titles. Uh, but this is all going to change when his boss, publisher Martin Goodman, he has a golf game with DC publisher Jack Leibowitz, who lets him know that he's having success with a superhero team book where they took all of their most popular characters and chucked them all together as the Justice League of America. So after that golf game, Goodman comes back to Stan Lee and says, I want you to make a superhero team book. And Lee, who is ready to quit the industry, decides that he's just going to resign before his wife, Joan, talks him out of it and says, just do the book your way. Put your ideas into the book. What's the worst they can do? Fire you? And Stan listens to her. And on August 8th of 1961, Fantastic Four number one hits the newsstands by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Stan came up with the plot, handed it to Jack, who drew it, and then Stan got them back and put the dialogue and the captions together in what is known as the Marvel method. Darren, is there anything you can speak to regarding the Marvel method?
Well, by the time I was doing freelance for Marvel, no, I'm thinking the Marvel method. It seems to me like that would have been something generally that Jim Shooter probably would have gotten away from during his run. He was editor in chief, I believe, up until '88. When we worked on projects as a couple or a team at school, loved working the Marvel method. It is a lot more work for the artist, the penciler. I do remember not so much the scripts I got, actually a couple. You would have a regular script, as is expected these days, and maybe like then the plot direction on page 3 is, and then Sandman and Thing beat the crap out of each other for 3 pages. That wasn't unusual to see in even a regular full script. I would have enjoyed doing more of that Marvel method, just letting me have some fun with it. And then another thing I'll say about the Marvel method is, I mean, not everybody's comfortable with it, but to me, as far as if I was going to script a book, I give, the artist sticks to my plot in the script, but I think in a way the Marvel method works out better because it's up to the artist to set the stage, the expressions and everything. And to me, where it worked is like, then the writer would go back in and go like, oh, okay, he drew it better, or slightly, he or she drew it better than I had implied in the plot. I really like what the artist came up with off of my directions Marvel method, but now I have to change what I was going to do with the scripting to kind of make it work together better as a whole. Now, sometimes that could fall into a situation where it's almost like the artist is painting the writer into a corner. But I think it also makes for some more dynamic, interesting combos as far as writer-artist breakdown. That was kind of rambling. I hope that made some kind of sense.
Oh, no, absolutely.
My scripter is on strike this week, so we'll just have to muddle through.
All right, moving on to today's issue. Go ahead and take us through the cover of the Fantastic Four #1, Shane.
All right. So Fantastic Four number one, what we have going on here is we have Sue captured by a monster coming out of the street. We have Johnny trying to save his sister. We have the Thing yelling at the three of them that they don't know what's going on and he can take care of it himself. And we have Reed untangling himself from some ropes. Then we have some civilians with like an officer at the end of the street, and they're all look shocked. The officer looks like he's reaching for something or trying to run away faster than everyone else. I'm not quite sure what he's doing there.
Might be going for his gun.
Could be.
Sue says, I can't turn invisible fast enough. How can we stop this creature, Torch? To which the Torch responds, just wait and see, sister. The Fantastic Four have only begun to fight. Mr. Fantastic down there in the corner then says, it'll take more than ropes to keep Mr. Fantastic out of action. While Ben says, the three of you can't do it alone. It's time for the Thing to take a hand. How do you feel about Reed being tied up in the middle of the street here, Shane?
It's so weird that he's tied up with ropes. And like he doesn't just stretch out of the ropes, like he's trying to untangle himself. Like you think he would just go like to earthworm size and just slither out.
You would think he could just do that, but I guess they really wanted to get the point across that he's super stretchy.
Yeah, I don't know. The because it only showed the arms. It doesn't even show the legs doing anything. That's the part that really weirds me out about the whole situation.
Well, we get plenty of examples on the interior of the comic.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we'll turn the page into there. Here they are, Dr. Reed Richards, Ben Grimm, Susan Storm, and Johnny Storm. And you see on the right-hand side, we have Stanley and Jack Kirby's signatures. No bombastic credits for this issue at the very least, but they were still finding their footing here.
I think that I like I mean I do like the bombastic credits, but I also do like the gentle little touch there.
Nice, nice and subtle. And in the sky above the crowd in the first panel, we see in big red letters in the midst of what looks like a cloud, the Fantastic Four. With the sudden fury of a thunderbolt, a flare is shot into the sky over Central City. Three awesome words take form as if by magic, and a legend is born. And there are three cops there, and one says, look, in the sky! What in blazes does it mean? I don't know, but the crowds are getting panicky. Rumors are flying about an alien invasion. And then in the next panel, we see a shadowy gentleman staring out a window with a starter pistol. Above all the hubbub and excitement, one strange figure holds a still smoking flare gun. One strange man who is somehow more than just a man, for he is the leader of the Fantastic Four. It is the first time I have found it necessary to give the signal. I pray it will be the last. Following panel, in another part of town, Susan Storm is having tea with a society friend when she hears the ominous words. Susan, look! Those words in the sky! What do they mean? And she turns invisible. How do we feel about dotted line invisibility, Shane?
It was a great way to portray it at the time with the technology that they had to do. Like there wasn't like 3D editing. It was a great way to get the story across. It's just I wish it was a little more consistent on how it worked throughout the next couple of panels.
So it has happened at last. I must be true to my vow. There can be no turning back. And Invisible Sue strolls out the door, much to her friend's confusion. Susan, she's gone. But where? How? It's time for the world to meet the Invisible Girl. And the next panel is just chaos as Sue pushes her way through a crowd, knocking people over.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four were quite the menace to society, at least in this book.
Hey, what's going on? Something rushed past me, something unseen. Stand aside, I have no time to lose. It's a ghost. And she just gets into a cab that's pulling up. Just what I need, an empty cab. And the driver says, Boy, what a dull day.
Man, doesn't he not know what's about to happen to him?
Yeah, his day's about to get anything but dull. I might as well cruise around until I pick me up a fare, he says, pulling away, just polluting everywhere. And then he's handed a dollar bill out of thin air. Thank you. I will get out here. Okay. Huh? Wait, who said that? What? Don't just sit there gaping, man. Take your money. I'm hearing things, seeing things, or not seeing them. Gangway, I'm getting out of here. And I am really struggling to figure out how Sue is completely uninjured here because she was in that car handing him the dollar bill, and in this panel, it is speeding away while she's still holding the dollar bill.
Well, I guess he must have
Invisible,
stopped at a
unperceivable.
stop sign. I'm assuming he stopped at a stop sign. She got out and went to hand it through the window. So when if the tires were squealing, it doesn't quite take off. So I'm assuming she pulled her arm out while it was burning rubber.
I mean, that would be a good audio cue to get the heck out of Dodge. It works. I really am invisible. Completely, totally invisible. There can be no doubt. Now all that remains is my mission. But let us leave the amazing invisible girl and turn our attention to a men's clothing store in another part of town, where we see a gentleman, a clerk at the counter, and a very large gentleman in a fedora and trench coat. While the clerk says, I'm sorry, mister, I just don't carry anything big enough to fit a man your size. Ah, everywhere it is the same. I live in a world too small for me. Look, out the window in the sky. Those words, the Fantastic Four. What can they mean? And the figure takes off his hat and glasses. So, the time has come. Wait, don't bother taking off your coat. I told you we haven't anything in your size. Your, your size. Oh no. What a relief to get out of those tight rags. As the man is now a big orange rock creature charging towards the door. And he just bursts through the wall in the next panel.
Yeah. Like, I'm still trying to figure out how he walked into the building the first time without breaking the door.
Maybe he used the freight entrance.
Came in through the back door. Because he left like a wrecking ball. He might not have came in like a wrecking ball.
Why must they build doorways so narrow? Holy smoke! A monster! And two cops are on the street and they draw their weapons. Pete, look! What's that? I don't know, but I ain't taking any chances with it. Halt or I'll shoot. Okay, I warned you. And the officer takes a shot at the thing, who starts tearing up the street. His first shot missed because he was so nervous, but he'll not get another chance. And he drops down into the sewer while the cops say, Did you see that? He ripped the manhole cover out of the ground with his bare hands. It's impossible. Ben keeps moving through the sewer. I've gone far enough. I should be under my destination by now, but there's no manhole cover above me, no opening. So he just burst out onto the street in oncoming traffic.
Yeah.
Ugh,
It's
bah, I cannot delay. I'll make an opening. I feel so bad for these people. Is he just
the
crashed their car right into him?
Yeah, they're just menaces to society, man. They don't care. Like they're like, "Oh no, a flare gun went off that says Fantastic Four. We must ignore all other human rights and run back to Reed Richards. Who cares if any innocent bystanders are in our way? We are just gonna get back to Reed Richards." Wild.
What is that? Right in front of me. Oh no, it's alive. Fool, did you not see me in time? And as people are running away, it's a walking nightmare. Help! Help! Lily-livered cowards. It ain't human. It's too big, too strong. It's a Martian. Minutes later, the police riot squad reaches the scene. There's no one here. Street's deserted. Then who put in that danger call? I don't know how to explain it, but there's something weird happening in Central City. Those words in the sky, those scattered reports of monsters walking the street. But what does it add up to, Chief? What? What does it add up to indeed? Perhaps if the police officers could witness still another scene in a local service station, they would find yet another clue, as will we. Got her purring gentle as a lamb, Johnny. Good, that's the way I like her. As two boys work in a service station to fix that car, Johnny Storm says, there's only one thing in the world that interests me more than cars. Yeah? What's that, Johnny? Hey, Johnny, look! In the sky! Those words! They're all coming together and turning into a number. The number 4. And Johnny begins to smoke. Johnny, that heat! Where's it coming from? What's happening to you? Don't worry, pal. You're turning into a human torch! And Johnny now is completely engulfed in flames. Remember me saying there was only one thing I care about more than cars? Well, this is it. And he burst out of the car, melting the roof and the tires.
Clearly does not care about cars. He clearly doesn't care. He is a lying liar who lies. Like, there's no way.
The other side, Johnny Storm does not care about cars, I don't think.
They only care about one thing. Like, I want to know what Reed has on all these people where they're like, oh, we must get back to Reed Richards exclusively. No one else in the world matters but Reed Richards.
My personal favorite thing about this panel is that the exclamation point that's in the word balloon coming out of his friend, which I'm assuming is just some sort of expletive.
Yeah, I would imagine. It's not shucks. Oh, Jolly Gee Willikers, Batman.
Impossible? Incredible? Call it what you will, but the figure which had been Johnny Storm scant seconds before is now a careening human torch, flashing through the skies above like a flaming meteor. Crowd below goes, look, a blazing burning comet. No, it's not a comet. Unless we're going mad, it's something human. Seconds later, the mayor of Central City issues an emergency order. Call the governor. Have him alert the National Guard. Move, man! Yeah, yes, sir. And before the hour is out, Washington has also taken immediate action. Red Dog to squadron leader. Attack unknown. Flaming object over Central City. Flaming object, huh? Someone must have flipped his lid of all the wild goose chase. Hey, wait! What's that? It is a flaming flying object. Let's get it, guys! No, no, stay back! Keep away! Why won't they listen? And Johnny is apparently burning so hot that just maneuvering around these jets, he's melting them out of midair.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I mean there are jets of the time also, so they wouldn't have had as nice of aircraft metals as we do now.
I'll accept your justification. I warned them. I tried not to burn their planes, but they came too close. At least they all parachuted to safety. That sound. In the distance, it looks like a hunter missile. It's zeroed in on me. It's attracted to my flame. I can't escape it. It's too fast. It has a nuclear warhead. If it explodes, I'm a goner.
It's a nuclear warhead. Everything has nuclear warheads. Like they thought everything was gonna be a nuclear warhead.
We can't even say that's of the time because the World Security Council tried to New York City in the Avengers movie.
Yeah. Like they just knew like, you know, whatever. It's a trope. It's a Marvel trope, I guess, at this point. You know what? We don't have an answer for it. Nuke it.
Suddenly, the Human Torch's flame begins to diminish, and as the missile is about to strike him, two impossibly long arms reach above the rooftops and got it. And what happens there, Shane?
Oh, he catches it and then he throws it out into the ocean in the weirdest panel of just the weirdest panel in this comic. It's a really weird panel. He doesn't get rid of it very far, according to this panel. He just drops it in the bay and it doesn't mushroom cloud, I'm guessing.
Moving with dazzling speed, one of the incredible arms hurls the mighty missile far from shore, where it explodes harmlessly over the sea. But
I
as the
wish
fly
I wish that's what that looked like. I really do.
but as the flying boy's flame flickers out altogether, he begins to plummet toward Earth, toward a certain doom. Grab me, Johnny boy. That's it. And Reed Richards has stretched himself between two rooftops, and Torch manages to catch on to his body with his arm and kind of drags him down, maybe, what, half a story there?
Oh yeah, that's definitely a half story at least.
Who is this unbelievable stranger who has saved the Human Torch? You're safe now, lad. You're safe. They swing through the window with lovely yellow curtains. In
There was a
fact,
limited color palette.
in fact, who are all four of these strange and astonishing humans? How did they become what they are? What mystic quirk of fate brought them together to form the awe-inspiring group known as the Fantastic Four? You all heeded my summons. Good. There is a task that awaits us, a fearful task. Before we move on to part two of this book, as we noted, this is taking place in Central City, California, not New York City, New York. And based on what we just saw with how they made their way across town, do we think there's a reason why they left Central City?
No, no, absolutely not. No. They definitely didn't get kicked out for, just being a nuisance.
That was the kindest term you could have used for what just transpired.
Is being a nuisance the kindest term? I mean,
With what we just read, yes, it is.
there's only gentle destruction of public property, some 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 gentle destruction of U.S. government property, some gentle just destruction of civilian property twice, and both cars. Apparently, Jack and Stan did not care about cars at all. They're like, I don't even know what we need this transportation for.
But there is time enough to learn of the task which faces the Fantastic Four. First, let us discover more about their origin. Let us go back to that momentous day when an angry Ben Grimm confronted Dr. Reed Richards. If you want to fly to the stars, then you pilot the ship. Count me out. You know we haven't done enough research into the effect of cosmic rays. They might kill us all out in space.
If only Reed would have listened.
We wouldn't be doing a podcast.
It's true.
Ben, we've got to take that chance, unless we want the commies to beat us to it. I never thought that you would be a coward. A coward? Nobody calls me a coward. Get me the ship. I'll fly her no matter what happens, he says as he slams his hand down on the desk and destroys a telephone.
I like how that was like the most terrifying thing you could call an adult man at the time was a coward. Like, yellow belly sapsucker, you won't fly this ship.
Well, I'm pretty sure people don't take kindly to being called cowards these days either.
I don't think that would affect me whatsoever.
And so, led by a determined Dr. Reed Richards, the little group sped toward the spaceport on the outskirts of town. Susan, Ben and I know what we're doing, but you and Johnny, don't say it, Reed. I'm your fiance. Where you go, I go. And I'm tagging along with Sis, so it's settled. I have so many questions as to the logic behind that conversation.
There's none. There's absolutely none.
And in our next panel, we see a guard at the fence, and it looks like the four just run by him towards the spacecraft. No time to wait for official clearance. Conditions are right tonight. Let's
Oh,
go.
that's because he's a statue. That's why he's colored gray.
Before the guard can stop them, the mighty ship which Reed Richards had spent years constructing is soaring into the heavens, towards outer space. She's behaving like a baby. Everything is perfect. Yeah, except for the cosmic rays. No one knows what they'll do. Higher and higher, like a silver bullet, roars the sleek spacecraft. We had to do it. We had to be the first. But we're reaching the cosmic storm area. Hang on. And there's a sound that starts going off in the cabin. What is it, Shane?
It's like rack, tack, 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 tack. I'm assuming that that's the best way to describe the breaking of the shields or like the what the rays felt like against the metal
I
in
think it's a Geiger counter.
space. You think it's a Geiger counter?
I think it's a Geiger counter. I think that's supposed to be the sound of a Geiger counter.
I mean, that would be a good thing.
Hear that? It's the cosmic rays. I warned you about them. And they just look like they are hammering the ship in the next panel.
Hmm.
They're penetrating the ship. Our shielding isn't strong enough. But I don't feel anything. Naturally, they're only rays of light. You can't feel them, but they'll affect you just the same. My head, it's pounding as though it's about to burst. Ben was right. We should have waited. Should have gotten heavier shielding. Johnny, what is it? What's happening to you? I don't know, sis. My body feels hot, like it's on fire. I feel like I'm burning up. Ugh. Listen to me. Somebody else take the controls. I can't handle the ship anymore. My arms are heavy. Too heavy. Can't move. Too heavy. Got to lie down. Can't move. Ben! At that moment, the powerful ship's automatic pilot took over and managed to return the sleek rocket safely to Earth in a rough but not fatal landing.
I do love the death, like them explaining that it was non-fatal.
Yeah, because it looks pretty fatal.
It doesn't look good.
As they all exit the rocket, I I'm grateful we're all alive. It was mighty close. But Reed, we failed. After all your work, your dedication, we failed. Bah, what do you expect? But we're still not completely safe. We still have to see whether the cosmic rays affected us in any way. Oh, Reed, I feel so strange. And in the next panel, Sue begins to turn invisible.
Yes, she does. And weirdly invisible too, because like her elbows become invisible with her legs and not the I don't know. It's
And it's also
weird.
not that dotted line that we saw earlier.
It is in the next panel. It's just this first one that's not the dotted line.
Susan! Look at Susan! What's wrong? You're fading away. Oh no, no, it's impossible. Somehow the cosmic rays have altered your atomic structure, making you grow invisible, which is misspelled.
Invincible.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
misspelled in this panel. Sis, I can't see you at all anymore. How long will it last? There's no way of knowing. What if she never gets visible again? Look, I see her. I'm myself again. It happened so suddenly, all by itself. Thank heavens. You're all right, my darling. All right, eh? How do you know, wise guy? How do you know she won't turn invisible again? How do you know what'll happen to the rest of us? Ben, I'm sick and tired of your insults, of your complaining. I didn't purposely cause our flight to fail. And I'm sick of you, period. In fact, I'm gonna paste you right in that smug face of yours. Ben, stop. Wait. Look what's happening to you. You're changing. Don't try to talk your way out of it, mister. I'm gonna mop up the place with you. And yeah, he is now turned into the thing.
The rock slash reptilian thing that we get in issue one.
Run, Reed, darling. He's turned into a some sort of a thing. He's strong as an ox. Reed, darling. Bah, how can you care for that weakling when I'm here? I'll prove to you that you love the wrong man, Susan. Hey, what? No, you don't. And Rita stretches out of the way.
Yes, he does. He's got those them dodging skills up.
You've had this coming to you for a long time, Ben, as he says, stretching his arms around Ben's figure, wrapping him up. Oh, Reed, Reed, not you too, not you too. What am I doing? What happened to me? To all of us? You've all turned into monsters, both of you. It's those rays, those terrible cosmic rays, says Johnny as he starts to smoke for the first time. Now I know why I've been feeling so warm. Look at me. They've affected me too. When I get excited, I can feel my body begin to blaze. And now he is just full blown Human Torch. I'm lighter than air. I can fly. Look, I can fly. Minutes later, Johnny Storm's flames subsided and he landed near the other three. Silently, they watched the small fire he had started in the underbrush burn itself out. Silently, they were each occupied with their own startling thoughts. Which is not true because their next thought balloon is all the same thought. It's shared between the four of them.
Yeah.
We've changed, all of us. We're more than just human.
Well, maybe that's before that panel. I don't know. That's a
Listen to
weird.
me.
I don't
Listen to
know.
me, all of you. That means you too, Ben. Together, we have more power than any humans have ever possessed. You don't have to make a speech, Big Shot. We understand. We've got to use that power to help mankind, right? Right, Ben. Right. And they, three of them put their hands in together. I'm calling myself the Human Torch, and I'm with you all the way. Same goes for me, the Invisible Girl. There's only one still missing. Ben? I ain't Ben anymore. I'm what Susan called me. The Thing. And I'll call myself Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Egotistical himself.
God, read the
Um,
room. Like, and so was born the Fantastic Four. And from that moment on, the world would never be the same again.
the nice thing is, we go to the next panel and we're back to story. That would have ended in modern comics. That would have been like, that's issue one.
That would have been issue one of literally probably any other comic aside from the Fantastic Four.
I really do like how they pace this out with the backstory and all.
Well, yeah, it's like you get It's almost like you get three stories for the price of one in this issue, which is pretty cool. But they had 25 pages to fill, so so we pretty much get the cover on the next page, with the exception of Reed not being tied up.
I mean, yeah, that's a great way to look at it, is it's that. But it doesn't look like it's the street anymore because the sidewalk's missing, so
That is true. The Fantastic Four meet the Mole Man. Emphasis on mole.
which is weird. Like if you look at this panel, you're automatically going to think that that's the name of that monster is the Mole Man. When like that monster's name is like Giganto or something like that, right?
Yep.
So,
And now, having met our four amazing characters, let us resume our tale. I called you together because I have some pictures to show you. Pictures? What are they? Pin-ups? Look, all of you. This used to be an atomic plant behind the Iron Curtain. Wow, what happened to it? The same thing that happened to the other atomic plants on those photos. This one is in Australia, and this is in South America. That's just it. It's happening to atomic plants all over the world. No one knows how or why. And Reed's looking at a seismograph that starts going off. Wait, according to the steady impulses on my radar machine, another cave-in is due to take place. And even as Reed Richards speaks, halfway around the world in French Africa, the following scene is taking place. And if anybody is listening to this podcast that is French or of French descent or of French heritage whatsoever, allow me to just profusely apologize for what's about to happen here. What is wrong, Pierre? I do not know. It sounds insane, but the sand beneath my feet seems to be throbbing. Almost as if something is moving below us. Almost as if, listen, don't you feel it? And there's a sound happening. Shane, what's that?
rumble, 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 roar.
Help! As the one Legionnaire falls down. It is an earthquake, but here in the desert, impossible. Impossible or not, Pierre almost fell to his doom. And there is another sound.
There is another sound. Rome.
Wait, the ground is trembling again. What can it be? Sacre bleu! The earth is going mad! The entire installation, it is caving in! And it makes a sound still. And it's
Roar.
But the worst is yet to come. For less than 30 seconds later, in the name of heaven, what is that? What indeed? It is a gigantic pair of claws, the like of which have never been seen on Earth or any planet in the universe. It is unbelievable, mind-staggering, but real. And we see the Legionnaires firing on this gigantic pair of green hands. Artillery! Bring the artillery! Hurry! Hurry! Artillery? Of what use is artillery against a creature whose hide is powerful enough to dig its way up through countless tons of rock-hard earth? They're firing cannons at this creature.
I mean, it is a true statement to think about. Like he did have to dig through the crust. Like he's probably tougher than a couple shells.
Artillery. Of what use is artillery against a monster who can crush a heavy tank with one hand? But just as it seems that nothing in the world will halt the nightmare menace, the shrill sound of a commanding voice is heard, and the Goliath stops in its tracks. Enough! Return to Earth's core. Our mission here is finished. Go! For even such a monster heeds its master, a master known as the Mole Man. But we shall return to the Mole Man before long, First, let us turn our attention back to the Fantastic Four as they gaze in astonishment at Dr. Reed Richards' super-sensitive radar scope. There, it has happened again, this time in French Equatorial Africa. But how? Why? That's what we've got to find out. By studying the cave-ins carefully, I've pinpointed an island located exactly between them. That is where we will find our answer. It is known as Monster Isle. Monster Isle? That's just a fairy tale. There's no such place. Only one way to find out, Ben. And find out they do. Hours later, aboard their small private jet, the Fantastic Four see a strange mountain rising from the sea, like an unearthly, grotesque face. They have found Monster Isle. There it is. How you feel about the color scheme on that jet?
It's so weird. But um that's one thing I forgot to bring up. If you notice, all the important stuff in this comic per page always is yellow and red. And this is before they have like their costumes, if for lack of a better term, for what they end up being. So like it seems to be par for like where we're at in this book. Do you just not like the color combination on
No,
it?
actually, I thought you brought up a really good point. It's really well color coded and definitely draws attention to it.
So
Little dreaming what awaits them, they climb to the top of the forbidding peak. This is just a wild goose chase, mister. I'll make sure you live to regret it. Save your breath for the climb, Gruesome. Actually, I think that might have been Sue. Save your breath for the climb, Gruesome. Hold
uh
on. I hear something. It's coming from below. You were saying, Shane?
it looks like if you go by the picture, it looks like it's Sue because it looks like it's Reed, Sue, Johnny, and then Ben in the back. Going by like the size of the shapes and the outlines.
Hold it. I hear something. It's coming from below. Look, those eyes. That's a unsettling of spacing on those eyes.
Just unsettling at all with just they're just red.
Suddenly, a living three-headed nightmare hurls itself at them from over the edge of the peak of Monster Isle. And it looks like a Hydra almost.
Yeah, Hydra, Chimera, all kinds of just monsters.
Quick, Sue, turn invisible. Seeing one of its intended victims vanish before its eyes, the monster halts, bewildered.
Dude, that face though, that face is amazing. Like that face, like the monster face being like, oh, oh.
Yeah, I mean it's remarkable when you're able to do facial expressions for something that there's really no previous point of reference to, right?
Or you wouldn't think would have a facial expression, but like, hey, why not? Why wouldn't a monster have a facial expression?
Very good point. There's just time enough for me to become Mr. Fantastic again. I'll make a huge lasso out of my arm. Got him! And Reed wraps his arm around one of the Hydra's middle head, I should say.
Hmm.
Tosses it into the ocean. I had heard there was a giant three-headed creature guarding this isle, but he shall guard it no longer. But before Mr. Fantastic and the Human Torch can catch their breath, look out! It's a cave-in! Next panel, they're just falling through a hole. But it's I love the way this is rendered with the negative space and whatnot. Just
Oh yeah.
so cool. And Reed turns himself into a parachute. Hold on, Johnny. Hold on. Lucky Sue and Ben weren't with us at the edge.
You know what I really think we should have done, and I'm gonna do next time? I'm gonna count the ways that Reed comes up with different ways to use his ability to save other members of the Fantastic Four.
It's almost a neat study to see just throughout the timeline, how Reed's powers evolve almost.
Yeah, so I think that's what I think that's a thing I'm gonna start doing going forward is just count like how many times does Reed use his arm as a lasso? Not like it just in the book, but like in general. And then like maybe do like a case study of like this is where did the evolution go to where we're at now with Reed doing he still does some of this stuff, but he does like way more with his body.
He sure does. Finally, the amazing duo float down to the bottom of the pit. It's pitch dark. What sort of place can it be? Reed, I feel something. It's a trap door in the wall. It's moving. That light, where did it come from? It's blinding. I can't see. I'm blacking out. It might be minutes or hours later when the two men regain their senses, only to find themselves garbed in strange adhesive type suits which protect them from the blinding, unearthly glow. My head. The light. It actually caused us to lose consciousness. But how did we get into these suits? So, you have recovered, have you? It's about time. Who? Who are you? I can't see. And where are we? The reason you cannot see is you are blinded by the glare from the Valley of Diamonds. And that is quite a sight, huh, Shane?
It is quite the sight. So I think it's insane to think about a brightness just knocking you out. But I've heard of it happening, so like it seems like it's a plausible conclusion to come to.
I mean, you think things like flashbangs, right? They
Yeah,
stun you.
they stun you. I mean, yeah, like, but that's not like knocking you out, like conscious. But whatever. And then we get to see the first glimpse of the mole man.
Yeah. And as for me, I am the Mole Man. Oh, what's the Mole Man look like?
So I think this is really cool. So like up to this point, our heroes were always red and yellow, right? Like so the panel was yellow and the red and like the heroes were always red in some form. Like Reed shooting the gun, Sue talking to the cabbie, whatever. The plane, he's a green yellow combination with a purple background.
How would you describe those shades he's wearing?
The coolest shades you don't own. Those are definitely shades. You know who would rock a pair of those?
Don't say it.
You know it. You know it's true. You know it. It's true too. Seth Rollins.
Oh, yeah. Now I got to put a picture of Seth Rollins on the screen for anybody who
No,
wants
you don't have to.
to.
You can you gotta post the picture with those the eyeglasses.
Moving on. Our next part is titled The Mole Man's Secret. Before we witness the breathtaking conclusion of our amazing tale, let us gather together all the loose ends. Let us return to the two members of the Fantastic Four who did not fall below during the cave-in. Reed and Johnny got to find them. Wait, that noise behind me. What? And what's behind her, Shane?
It looks like a rock monster kind of patrolling slowly
But
about
not
to,
Ben.
but not Ben, about to prowl and jump on her.
In the next panel, we see Ben in his fedora and jacket. But other ears also hear the menacing sounds, and other eyes behold the frightening sight. The eyes of the Thing, who ditches his trench coat. Yo, he looks very very Lava Man-esque in this picture.
Yeah, the consistency again, I said, and has been brought up before, like the consistency in the art, because like I said, they were trying to push this out so fast. I think like when you said the invincible thing with the N instead of invisible, like there was just stuff that got missed because they were just trying to push this book out as fast as possible. And I think that panel right there is one of those like oopsies. Oopsie doodles.
Doc Sue, out of the way. Let me handle him. The second gigantic guardian of Monster Isle is powerful beyond belief, but he is fighting an enemy whose every atom has been charged with cosmic rays, an enemy who can't be stopped. And Ben hits this thing in the face with an axe handle, then lifts it over his head. You've done it, Ben. You've beaten him. And tosses it into the ocean. What did you expect? I'm the thing, ain't I? And then he puts his coat and hat back on, grabs Sue by the wrist. Now let's go find that skinny loudmouth boyfriend of yours. Oh, Ben, if you could stop hating Reed for what happened to you. And what of Reed Richards and Sue's brother Johnny? We again descend to the depths of Monster Isle, where we find them confronted by the strangest menace of all time, the Mole Man. So, you have never before heard of the Mole Man, eh? Well, soon the world shall hear of me. For soon the Mole Man will have the entire world in his power. How did you get here? What is this place? It all started long ago because the people of the surface world mocked me. What? Me go out with you? Don't make me laugh. I know you're qualified, but you can't work here. You'd scare our other employees away. Hey, is that your face or are you wearing a mask? Ha ha! Finally, I could stand it no longer. I decided to strike out alone to search for a new world, the legendary land at the center of the earth, a world where I could be king, where my travels took me all over the globe. Even this loneliness is better than the cruelty of my fellow men. And he is trekking through the Arctic at this point.
Yeah, he's on his Superman journey.
And then, just when I had almost abandoned hope, my little skiff had been washed ashore here on Monster Isle. I found it! That strange cavern. Where can it lead to? And he looks like he's been through the ringer.
Yeah, he definitely looks a little worse for wear. Like he's definitely ready to take in some retirement.
I soon saw where it led. It led to the land of my dreams. Down there, below, I found it. It's Earth's center. But in the dread silence of that huge cavern, the sudden shock of my loud outcry caused a violent avalanche. And when it was over, I had somehow miraculously survived the fall. But due to the impact of the crash, I had lost most of my sight. Yes, I had found the center of the earth, but I was stranded here like a human mole.
I think that this panel's great, showing like how he sees himself now as like a rock figure. His nose exists, his eyes exist, but he doesn't really, minus his mouth, he thinks that everything's non-necessary.
I can see that. Aren't moles just known for digging, though?
Yeah.
So I don't understand why he would say he's stranded underground like a human mole, because really he should be able to dig himself out in that case.
But most moles do just live underground. Like they don't like to pop up. So that's where that comes from.
That was to be the last of my misfortunes. My luck began to turn in my favor. I mastered the creatures down here, made them do my bidding, and with their help, I carved out an underground empire. A note of madness creeps into the mole's voice as he speaks of his power, and then he makes his first fatal mistake. First fatal. That seems like an oxymoron.
I mean, it does. It
I,
really does.
I conquered everything about me. I even learned to sense things in the dark, like a mole. Here, I'll show you. Try to strike me with that pole. Try it, I say. Bah! I sense that blow coming. Nothing can take me by surprise. And I have developed other senses too, like those of the bat. Reed's swinging this pole at him pretty wildly.
Yeah, but I think he's also doing it on purpose.
I possess a natural radar sense, a warning system which enables me to evade whatever danger strikes at me. Compared to the mole man, you are slow, clumsy, ha ha. See how easily I defeat you, or any others who try to defy me. And he strikes Reed square in the chest with that stick. And he's pointing at a map of Earth with tunnels to various cities.
Hmm.
Now, before I slay you all, behold my master plan. See this map of my underground empire? Each tunnel leads to a major city. As soon as I have wrecked every atomic plant, every source of earthly power, my mighty mole creatures will attack and destroy everything that lives above the surface. And now, at my signal, those creatures of darkness, my denizens of Earth's center, shall dispose of all you witless intruders. But what happened, Shane?
The thing sheds his trench coat, and Sue and him arrive, and you see them jump in to stop the combat.
We'll see about that, Mole. The thing. Too late, fool. The die is cast. There is no turning back. And it looks like he rings some sort of bell and it makes a sound.
Oh, I thought that bong bong was. I wasn't sure if that was a bell or if that was like the stick bouncing off of the thing.
No, it's a bell. Thing, look out behind you. Hearing the mole's signal, the largest and most deadly of his underground creatures ponderously raises itself into the room, its brainless rage directed at the four astonished humans. And we see the monster from the cover raise out of the hole in the room. And then the Fantastic Four fly into blazing action as Johnny flames on. Look out, Reed! I'm gonna burn my way out of this monkey suit. Good boy, Torch. Johnny goes airborne. Stand aside, gang. It's gonna get mighty warm around here. Back and forth, buzzing around the monster's head like a hornet, flies the human torch as the gigantic creature vainly tries to grasp his fiery foe. Reed, the mole man, he's escaping. Not if I can help it, Sue. Reed sheds his suit and outstretches his arm. And help it I can. And he grabs the mole man. Moving like a well-oiled fighting machine, the Fantastic Four, with the deadly mole man in their grasp, race for the surface. But then their evil antagonist seizes the signal cord again and... You haven't won yet. Even you can't defeat all of my Under-Earth horde. Hurry, Reed, hurry. You can't even hold on to one little guy? And then they come, like figments of a mad nightmare, roaring, running, snarling, the mole man's entire army of underground gargoyles. And they are a motley crew, are they not?
They are a motley crew. A couple do like have gargoyle like appearances. I don't. Then some are just like they're just shapes. I think it's great. Just monster like hey. I need generic design monsters. What can I make that gets a point across that these are monsters that you wouldn't normally see? Or like they're not a creature you would see walking the face of the earth.
But they hadn't counted on the unbelievable power of the Human Torch. Flying between his fantastic allies and the pursuing horde, he blazes a fiery swath which melts the soft earth. This'll cause a rock slide, sealing us off from those creatures. They burst out onto the surface. Just the four, not with the mole man, though.
No. Yeah, the mole man gets dropped in the chaos.
We did it! We're free! And the entrance to the mole man's empire is sealed forever. Moments later, as their plane flies over the ocean, but where is the mole man? I left him behind. He'll never trouble anyone again.
If only that was a true statement.
And the words of Mr. Fantastic are indeed prophetic, as seconds later, what happens, Shane?
Monster Island implodes.
He's destroyed the entire isle. He's sealed himself below, forever. It's best that way. There was no place for him in our world. Perhaps he'll find peace down there. I hope so. Way to preach acceptance. Right? Just, I just hope we have seen the last of him. But whether we've seen the last of the Mole Man or not, we will see much more of the most amazing quartet in history in the next great issue of The Fantastic Four. Don't miss it. The end. All right. And with that, that is the end of the first issue of the Fantastic Four. What are your thoughts on this, guys, as far as a first issue? I mean, it's a classic story, obviously.
I'll I'll jump in. What I try to do with these, you know, old books is just try to imagine what it was like to see it on the stand. I doubt if there was any advertising in any of the regular timely Marvel comics. It's just you look and here's this thing called the Fantastic Four. It's an exciting image. Again, remembering that this is early 60s. Um, and some people tend to say like, oh, this point, early 60s, the early Kirby stuff looked kind of crude compared to like some of the slicker DC titles. But I think that's one of the things. I mean, crude isn't even the right term for it. But to me, this covers a grabber. I mean, you got four characters doing amazing stuff. You got, the giant monster, which to me was like a natural editorial bridge going from so many monster and sci-fi comics. You're not completely throwing your readership off guard. You have a familiar type of character. And first time I read this was my copy of Origins of Marvel Comics. It's full of convention autographs and whatnot. But I remember just falling in love with Giganto, the mole man's giant monster. And to me, it just seems like it would have been different enough to where it would have grabbed you, you know.
Uh, and something that's really stuck out to me, going back and looking at this and looking at the early issues of the Fantastic Four, is how Ben Grimm's skin at this point isn't actually look like it doesn't look like it's rock at all. He looks more like he's rocking lizard scales. And I would really love to be able to talk to someone who had perspective as to why that shifted into the more rock hide aspect as opposed to keeping that somewhat reptilian look to it.
I think this book was produced real fast, and I think that was just a way to get across that look that he was different as quick as possible. I think that's where that one of those things where uh had this discussion with Darren before about this book about like they threw quick stuff in this, like bringing back the fact that they used the monster and they already were doing monster books. It just made sense at the time. S-
Yeah, and if you were going to put out a new project like this, a new comic, um, and part of your printing plan, your publishing plan was to like surprise the fans with something new. You had to get it done, keep it a secret, secure the trademark, copyright stuff real quick with possibly an ash can. I don't know if any FF number one ash cans exist, but holy, wouldn't that be a find, you
That
know?
would be amazing to
Yeah.
see.
And and you know what? We think of it as like, oh man, that's Fantastic Four. That became Fantastic Four number one. You got to baby it. You got to make it the best you guys can possibly do. Now, at the time, it was another comic book. Of course, Stan had hopes that it would be a hit, but it still fell under the same pressures as everything else they published in the magazines, that magazine management or whoever it was. Um, yeah, to get that stuff out, you know. And but this, it's amazing too to me, and we've talked about it before when we got together. It's like they did they kind of broke it up. Like it was like the beginning of a story, and then they dropped in the origin, and then they continued with the conflict with the mole man. Um, Not quite Tarantino with its chronological pacing, but I thought it was kind of interesting for the time.
Having read a number of Silver Age and Golden Age books, I can't really think of something that works on that sort of time scale.
Yeah.
At least not very much. But
I think
uh,
this is probably the biggest book that did it that I can think of off the top of my head.
do we think that the making Johnny Storm the Human Torch was kind of Stan's way of saying, "Hey, look, we included one of our old Golden Age superheroes, so he could get away with saying that this was in line with Goodman's mandate of making a Marvel Justice League."
I think that
Yes,
fits.
that's probably correct.
And I would guess too that Stan proved that later on he was all for bringing back Golden Age characters like Cap and Namor. Um, So, to me, it seems like Stan put these guys together. Like you were saying, Nate, maybe, hey, here's a recognizable property we own. Here's a torch. Don't worry about it, Uncle. We're good. And but Stan could have played it really safe and brought back a lot of the Golden Age heroes to create a Justice League team, which would have made sense if the Justice League was doing well. But I gotta, and especially if your boss is your uncle, I don't think you're gonna rock the boat too much. I wasn't around back then. I'd have no personal knowledge of that. But it is pretty cool to look back and think, Stan took a chance with these unknown characters. And, obviously it became the foundation for the Marvel Universe with
So
Jack Kirby. Always believe in equal credit. I love them both.
Yeah,
no, you can't discount Jack Kirby at all, especially going forward in the run. But yeah, I think if Stan would have brought back more Golden Age characters and filled out this team with them instead of the originals, we wouldn't be talking about Marvel Comics today. Uh, they would have died on the vine, quite frankly. The world needed something different, and Stan and Jack provided it.
Yeah. And as far as different, like, I mean, except for like some of the old crime stories, you didn't have people bitching at each other like you do with these four friends, allies. So I know that gets brought up in every interview, every show, every podcast. But again, I try to look at it like, man, if I was a kid, like that would have blown my mind. You know, these guys are yelling at each other and blaming each other for screwing up the mission. I would say that, that was definitely on Stan.
Yeah, and I will say it is interesting going forward from here to sort of read the evolution of Ben Grimm because Ben, by far from all of them, is the most miserable in this comic book.
Mm-hmm.
The one who is most likely to call out anyone on the team about anything. And who can blame him? He got called a coward and he turned into a big rock monster. So I would be mad too.
Yeah, that I think that's justified. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he can't change. Like the other one still can look like a human, and he's stuck looking like a rock monster.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he puts a giant trench coat on
And that's not suspicious at all.
to hide himself.
I thought it was cool when his personality kind of evolved to the point where he was always talking about how gorgeous he was, and that sense of humor, bravado, whatever it was. I thought again, he looks like a big lump or a pile of rocks, but um, definitely you know, the spirit of the team.
Ben's
Oh
self-acceptance
yeah,
feels very important uh, for any reader to experience and for anybody in life to learn. We all have problems with ourselves and being able to accept ourselves for who we are, um, and what we look like and take our faults with whatever quality traits we have is just super important. So I think everybody should look to Ben Grimm and look at him as a role model.
There you go. Well, who later on they introduced Alicia Masters, the girlfriend, and she would point out, Ben, just because the train's late doesn't mean you can destroy the whole subway system. That's not how this works. And she kind of, in a loving way, tried to help him calm down and be less of a maniac. And that was good character material. Good stuff.
So I know that we literally just deep dove into this and read the story, but for those of you who want to check it out on your own and don't have several $1,000s to spend on a first printing of Fantastic Four #1, uh, you can actually find this story several places. Darren, you have an Origins of Marvel Comics there in your hand, correct?
I do.
That book goes for a pretty penny, especially Darren's. I doubt that he's planning on selling it. Uh,
Yeah, I got a few autographs in this one. I don't know if that really shows up,
Oh, it
but
did. It
it
did.
did, it did.
It did.
Especially that Stan Lee signature showed up on there.
yeah, Frank Thorne, Wendy Pini back when she was cosplaying as Red Sonja.
That's
That was
a
memorable. My
the
first convention, 15, and I met Red Sonja.
I'm a big fan of Wendy.
Yeah. George Perez was kind of just starting out when this Marvel 76 convention happened. So I actually got a chance to talk to him because his lines weren't as long compared to, say, Jack or John Buscema or Stan. So that's probably what I remember most from that convention, was talking to George.
Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Aside from Origins of Marvel Comics, currently you can find Fantastic Four Volume 1, #1 in print in the Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 1, the Fantastic Four Epic Collection, the world's greatest comic magazine, Mighty Marvel Masterworks, the Fantastic Four Volume 1, the world's greatest heroes. There's also a Fantastic Four panel by panel book, which is almost a print vision of what we just did. Uh, there recently was a 2025 facsimile edition, and of course, you can also find it on Marvel Unlimited. And for those of you who don't want to read, shame on you, but also there are several adaptations. Elements of the origin story are contained in the 1967 animated series, Episode 7, The Way It All Began. There's also the 1975 Fantastic Four radio show, whose first episode was an adaptation of the Fantastic Four #1. If any of you want to listen to that, there's an app called LibriVox. They did not pay us to advertise for them, but they do have all kinds of public domain radio shows, including this one. Get to hear Bill Murray as the Human Torch, which is pretty cool.
Well, it's no big deal, it's just a moment.
1978's The New Fantastic Four animated series adapts the encounter with the Mole Man in episode 6, The Mole Men. Episodes 1 and 2 of season 1 of the 1994 Fantastic Four animated series cover the origin story, while episode 11 covers the Mole Man. Also, the unreleased Roger Corman Fantastic Four from 1994 covers the origin and also adapts the Mole Man as a character called the Jeweler, who ends up stealing the shiny rock at the center of their cosmic rage shielding apparatus, therefore being directly responsible for the Four's origin. How do you feel about that, Shane?
Ugh. I know. We're not gonna talk about that
Oh, yeah, we'll do a whole episode
until you
on
make me
how
talk
that's.
about it.
The actors on
Oh,
that,
I really hope we don't do a whole episode on that.
I mean, I have it on the docket. Talk me out of it. Change my mind.
I'll try.
And of course, you have the 2005 Fox film, which also adapts the origin story. Darren, I want to thank you very much for joining us on today's show and giving us some insight on the Fantastic Four.
my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, guys. Always good to hang out with you guys.
And you're welcome back anytime. And I would like to thank all of you for listening in wherever you're finding your podcast to this episode of the Fantastic Four Fancast.
Support the channel.
You heard the man. Enough said.
Or I'll clobber you.